All right, time for another episode of This, That.
And the other.
I'm Joey.
I'm Ian.
Ian, I just want to go ahead and get this out there. We're getting fucking old, man. We are. Not just that, we're seeing a lot of things change in Atlanta in general. We just lost another local venue. MJQ is officially shutting down. So that just adds to the list of venues we've seen shut down in our lifetime, in our 20s, now in our 30s. We saw the old Masquerade go away. Even though it moved to a new location, it's not the same. I remember going to the
Masquerade. Actually, MJQ is actually opening like pretty much upstairs. It's changing locations.
Yeah, okay. So it is the same thing. It's moving pretty much to where the new Masquerade is now.
Yeah,
but
I think it's literally, it might be like 1 story or 2 stories.
Yeah,
right above it,
I saw that it's moving, but the thing is, it's never the same, because there will never be the same experience as walking into the old Masquerade, going up the stairs, worrying about the floor caving in, worrying about the barricade breaking, being in a sketchy ass area, having to walk through that tunnel at Murder Kroger. You're never going to recreate that experience.
Or parking in the sketchy parking
lot.
Yeah,
parking in the sketchy parking lot.
You might have to pay for sometimes, and you might not have to pay for sometimes.
I always paid there because there was always this one homeless dude who referred to himself as Youngblood, and if you gave him $10, he would watch your car for you the whole night. But if you didn't, he may or may not pee or key your car, or something may or may not happen to your car if you didn't give him that $10. So me and my buddies were always like, yeah, dude, fuck yeah, here you fucking go. But they did have a gravel parking lot that I think you could pay $20 for, and they would have security watch it all night, but I wasn't doing that.
Security.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, is sometimes you paid for parking in that $20 parking lot. Sometimes you paid $5. Sometimes you didn't pay if the show wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
Like I remember going to some shows that weren't quite as big as the others, and like you essentially, like, you might have to pay $5 or you just did not have to pay.
Yeah, but you could get relatively lucky and just park at the Kroger. The Kroger was free.
Yeah.
I don't know if they necessarily allowed it, but they never booted you or towed you. And if you got there early enough, you could park at the Kroger, cross the street, walk down the bridge, and be right at the front door of the Masquerade. So that's generally what I did. But I mean, over time, we've seen so many of our favorite venues close. PS Warehouse closed down almost immediately. Swayze's closed down. There's probably plenty I'm forgetting right now too. And does that mean?
So my wife actually ended up working like at PS Warehouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you.
Oh,
this
no.
story.
She was doing that real estate shit, right?
Yeah. Well, she was. Yes. Yeah. So she was doing that, but a friend of ours posted a picture of PS Warehouse and was like, "Yo, RIP." PS Warehouse, and I was like, wait a minute, that's my wife's car in the picture.
Yeah.
Like, and then I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, holy crap, it is PS Warehouse.
No, I remember that because I worked with you a few times. Yeah, we were basically like staging furniture for houses that were for sale to like make it look good for when people came in for clients and stuff. Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, there's probably, so does this mean, is the Drunken Unicorn still around? I don't know. I haven't been to a show there in forever. I don't get out much anymore.
Yeah, same. I mean, I have no idea, to be honest.
I remember originally there was a rumor that entire block was getting sold, like the local Southern Star Tattoo, Drunken Unicorn, everything like that. I don't know. I don't know the details, but what I do know is we're getting old, and I did some research today. And I wanted to know, we're getting old. How old are we really? So we're going to take a trip down memory lane, and I'm going to tell you a couple of albums that are turning 20 years old this year in 2025. So yeah. So are you ready for this? How old do you want to feel right now?
Yeah, here we go.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to list them. I think I got about 10 or so. I'm going to list them. So if you hear one that stands out to you that you want to take a minute to talk about, we absolutely can. But this is going to be a fun little trip down memory lane. But I'm going to come out heavy. So this album in particular,
we're starting heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
This album in particular, when we were living together when I was like 16 or 17 years old, we would listen to consistently all the fucking time, and it is none other than Almost Here by the Academy Is.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Big, dude. Yes. Big album.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was like the green and
Yeah, it
tan
had like the
album with, like, a
sunrise on the
sun.
front.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only that, I
Dude,
think the singer
definitely.
was like 17 years old when the album came out or something like that. Something crazy. He was really young.
I remember seeing them on Warped Tour. I believe it was their first year. Like I feel like that album might not have come out yet, or in the process of coming out yet.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing them at Warped Tour, and even then, like that fresh out the gate. I mean, as I guess you should be, but at that Warped Tour, dude, they fucking killed it. Like every song on beat.
Yeah.
Killed it.
The only time I ever got to see them was at a Warped Tour, and then I know he went on to do like Cobra. He wasn't in Cobra Starship, but he was in that song that was really big with Cobra Starship, right?
Was it this? Yeah.
The Snakes on the Plane shit. Remember?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I don't think he was actually in the band, but that song was huge, and he was part of that song.
Yeah.
So another one I got for you is the self-titled album by Bayside. I know you're a huge Bayside guy. Yeah.
Hard. Yeah. Yes. I think that was another band, like pretty much out the gate. Like that first, I remember buying the first Bayside album. I think I heard one of the songs on probably like a Victory sampler, probably.
Yeah. See, I literally only know like 2 or 3 Bayside songs, and it's not that they're not good. I just never got into them.
I slept on them for like, I got into them really like a lot, and then I probably slept on them for like 2 or 3 albums, and then I got really hard into them again.
Yeah, like a lot of my really close friends go crazy for Bayside. And it's not that I never really gave it a chance. It's just that, it wasn't for me, and that's fine,
Yeah, dude. But like, it was when Killing Time came out, like I guess years ago now. But when that album came out, like I was just like, holy shit! It was a great album, very good album, good album.
Moving on from there, we got some hometown boys right here. Cartel's Chroma turns 20 this year.
Okay, do
we even have to go into detail? That album set a standard for me. I remember hearing honestly for the very first time, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. And then when I found out that they were Lucky Street guys, from the Atlanta area, from the Georgia Tech area, that's all you had to fucking tell me, dude. I was a big Cartel fan from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely an album because not only were they just like hometown dudes, and like one of their first shows ever was in Peachtree City.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy thing. And
I think I saw them with you a handful of times too.
Probably. I mean, I've probably seen them a good handful, if not a little more. But I just remember when those dudes came on the scene, they took over. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Their name
they even
was
had
everywhere.
that fucking there was like this Dr. Pepper reality show that was on MTV where it was kind of like a Big Brother style, and they had to write an album while they were being filmed the whole time. I vaguely remember it. I don't think I actually watched the whole show, but I remember it being a huge deal. And I remember it just so happened to be Cartel, that like they went from being a local Atlanta band to now Dr. Pepper is sponsoring this reality show for them. Yeah. Now they're taking over the world on MTV, being filmed 24/7 Big Brother style. That was fucking wild. But also like, what a time to be alive, dude, where a pop-punk band can take over the world like that,
Weird album from Cartel. Like,
yeah.
That was one album, like, it took me a little bit to get into. Like, I eventually got into it, but like...
But I mean, at the same time, of course it's going to be a weird album. Imagine trying to write an album while the entire world has their fucking eyes on you 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to be your best work. It's going to be full of anxiety is what it's going to fucking be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because like you would probably know because you're talking about it, but like weren't they trapped in like a globe or something? Weren't they trapped in like a circular sphere?
I haven't seen footage of it since it came out, since back then. But I think you're right. I think it was like a sphere shaped fucking like reality type show, but it was straight up like Big Brother style.
Yeah. But I for some reason, and I do feel like it was like a completely clear sphere or something.
I think it was clear. I think it was
everybody could see it happening.
And it might be on YouTube. It might be searchable.
Oh, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I haven't looked before this conversation. I haven't looked it up, but I literally just remember that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that show happening because like I remember I was hard into Cartel, like kind of as they were going into that, and I just remember that happening. It was like, okay, Cartel's about to be like.
Yeah. They're about to blow up, and they did.
Yeah. Oh, blow up. They're about to explode dude. insane.
That was a really fun time for pop punk and emo at the same time.
It was a wild time.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Another one. So this isn't their most I wouldn't say it's not their most popular album. It's definitely not our favorite album by them. It's still a fucking banger. Paper Cut Chronicles by Gym Class Heroes turns 20 this year.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Their follow-up album to this was way bigger and way more important to me. I remember when like The Queen and I and all that shit came out, I was playing it non-fucking stop. I loved I still love Travie McCoy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't too big into Paper Cut Chronicles. I remember what was that Taxi Cab song was on there where he like quoted all the names of the bands in the songs.
Punk emo
and
band.
then Faces in the Hall. Dude, that song is fucking amazing.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's definitely an album like I feel like I was really into that album when we were living together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
not Paper Cut Chronicles. Their second album is what we were like super into.
I mean, I was into both like really hard
Okay.
at that time. Like,
well, was
very,
it okay?
very-
Is there are some songs on Paper Cut Chronicles that they put on the second album, or at least it was that yeah, that song that was on both albums, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
different versions. Like,
Yeah. I remember the one on Paper Cut Chronicles was more of like a demo sounding version.
yeah, which I mean, I thought sounded better, but
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate either one of them. I
No.
fucking loved that album too, and it was really much in the MySpace era and everything.
Oh,
It was
yes.
oh my god,
Oh,
dude!
yes.
Like what a fucking time
Oh,
capsule,
yes.
dude. It's everything's just flooding back to me right now, and a lot of times I look back. A lot of times I look back on this time of my life and I cringe like a motherfucker. But at the same time, it was like every other kid that was around at the same was doing the exact same shit. So we all have to collectively cringe at it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, can't sit here and say it was a time. That's for sure. Like everybody lived it, breathed it.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody was a part of it. It was wild.
But
There
I
was
also
a lot of music happening. I can say
also
that.
will say
Like-
Gym Class Heroes is responsible for getting a lot of kids who wouldn't normally be into it into hip hop because they heard Gym Class Heroes. They may not have known a bunch of rap or hip hop or anything like that, but they heard them, they were down with that, and then they started gravitating into more of it. I remember when they came out with the album The Quilt, they had a song with Busta Rhymes on it, which was fucking amazing. Like this emo adjacent band now having a song with Busta Rhymes is incredible. And also Travie McCoy can actually rap. Like I don't care what you say. I don't know how great he is at freestyling or shit like that, but right, he's got a great flow. He sounds great on the microphone. And it was just cool. Like it was awesome to have that in the fucking pop punk scene at the time. You know what I mean? There was nothing else like him. You can give him that.
Yeah, well, shout out Travie.
Yeah,
For
shout out
being
Travie,
huge.
dude. Shout out
Big
to, and
part
on
of
top
our
of that, I don't know you personally, Travie, but I've been following your career, and I'm very proud of you and your road to sobriety, and you're doing fucking awesome. So hell yeah.
Yeah.
Another album on this list. This was really
Keep
big
going.
for you.
Keep it
You
going.
played this album to death.
Here we go. What is it?
Everything in Transit by Jax Mannequin.
Oh, gee. Okay.
So for me, I was a huge fucking Something Corporate fan. I was so into Something Corporate. Leaving Through the Window was one of my favorite fucking albums. North was one of my favorite fucking albums. And when Something Corporate split, I was heartbroken. But then Jax Mannequin came out and I was like, this is amazing. And it sounded like a Something Corporate album, just a little more polished, a little more poppy, but fucking amazing. It started off with Holiday from Real. You hear the bass line and you just go straight into it. It's such an amazing fucking song.
Yeah, I remember the beginning of Something Corporate, like when they were on Drive Through Records and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why, but I was kind of weird on this like piano thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. That's kind of weird because normally I would love that kind of shit. But like for some reason I didn't with the pop punk vibe. I was just kind of like, oh, whatever, that's not that cool, blah, 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 blah. But eventually I got really into it, and then I started getting into Something Corporate more. And of course, like when he started battling cancer and all that kind of stuff happened in his life, I got into him a little more. So I started to get into his story a little more and started to really, feel for him and that kind of stuff. And what led up to the story of Jax Mannequin and him making Jax Mannequin and all this stuff it just really, at the time, it very much touched me. And I was just like, this dude is literally like essentially pouring his entire life into everything that
absolutely,
he has.
Man. It was such a vulnerable record, you know, and you could sense it.
Absolutely.
Like in his voice and the music and everything. Dark Blue, that song hits like a fucking freight train, dude. Like he put so much of himself into that, and I appreciate that record so much. And like I'll sit here and say like, you know, like I love hardcore, I love metal, I love this, that, and the other, but I have a huge place for pop punk and emo music, and like Jack's Mannequin hit the nail on the head with that. Like that record is flawless in my book.
Well, and also I think like how you say you have so much hardcore and whatever influence and stuff like that. I feel like the way that those two worlds collide in both of our worlds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How, you know, like to the like there's so much hardcore influence in pop punk, and there's so much,
which has been crazy to me, and I didn't really realize that because I had been into hardcore before I like really dove into pop punk. But I'll never forget going to a New Found Glory show and the energy of the crowd. I was like, this is a hardcore show. Like they're not playing hardcore music, but this is a hardcore
that's how
show.
they've always,
you know what I'm saying? And it's just it's always been crazy to me, like the bond between pop punk and hardcore, but it's there and it's real. Like the crowd feels like no matter what the music is, it can be Set Your Goals, it can be 4 Years Strong, it can be New Found Glory. The crowd is a hardcore crowd, and you're just unashamedly bonded by this music that like a lot of the outside world thinks is cheesy and fucking immature, this, that, and the other. I don't give a fuck. I'm having the time of my fucking life there, and these guys are going hard. They're stage diving, they're fucking slam dancing, they're doing all that shit for pop punk, and it's crazy. I didn't realize it until I had actually put eyes on it, but there's been times where I've been at like a Man Overboard show. Dude, Man Overboard crowds are fucking insane. One of my favorite pop punk bands of all time, by the way.
Well, also, and you're talking about like, so discussing, okay, let's not even put, I won't even put 4 Years Strong into this kind of category because we know how much of an influence New Found Glory had on 4 Years Strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's put New Found Glory and like, let's just say that like without New Found Glory, I don't think that half of these bands might not exist or might not even like, they definitely wouldn't have had the influence they have, because if you think about it, like New Found Glory had to have been, I mean,
but the same can be said about Blink-182 too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Blink-182 was still not as like hardcore as New Found Glory. Like, straight up, like my first New Found Glory shirt was like the hardcore.
Blink-182 kind of like skyrocketed to fame in a way that New Found Glory never did. Was still,
Blink-182 is still more of like, and even they refer to it, they have it on their fucking t-shirts. It's generic pop punk.
Yeah.
Like, Blink-182 is generic pop punk.
Blink-182 is more like push pits and circle pits and sing along, you know? It's not like you're not going to get kicked in the face at a fucking Blink-182 show, you know what I'm saying?
And that's where New Found Glory comes into play, because New Found Glory, because of the people that are in New Found Glory, are so hardcore backed and so hardcore influenced that
which is crazy. And like, it's definitely something that I would love to talk to one of them about one day and just be like, how do you create this? Like, how do you stand up there and have these pop punk songs about getting your heart broken, this, that, and the other, but you have a hardcore crowd. Like if you put the music on mute and just recorded the crowd, it would look like you're at a hardcore show. Yeah. So I don't know how that ever happened, but it's amazing. It's always blown my mind, and I think it's badass.
Yeah. Okay, well, here, we're throwing this out there to anybody from New Found Glory that would like to come on this, that, and the other, and we'd like to chat with you about what made you decide, or how did it happen that your crowds ended up becoming a hardcore show, essentially, that we all love.
But it's funny that you mentioned the correlation to it, because like I told you in the interview with Joseph, Murdoch started out as a pop punk band. We were just going to make like pop punk music, and then we heard hardcore, and we were like, you know what? This means a whole lot more to me than pop punk does. Still have a big place in my heart for pop punk, don't get me wrong, but like hardcore just resonated with me so much more. But going through this list, these are albums that mean a lot to me. These are albums that mean a lot to you. Keeping it moving, You were really much into this band more than I was, but Commit This to Memory by Motion City Soundtrack is turning 20 years old this year.
Let's get fucked up and die.
Exactly, right? Yeah. No, Motion City Soundtrack was cool. They definitely have their place. I liked them, but I never listened to them without you present. Like I never went home and was like, oh, let me listen to a Motion City Soundtrack. It just really, I'm not trying to be mean. It just wasn't.
I mean, what that band, okay, so that plays into like, okay, so that band was the first band that I ever heard that, like, when I heard those fucking keyboards hit,
yeah,
on the first time I ever heard that single, I lost it. Like, I remember, I think I got it on it had to have been on a sampler of
well,
some
then that's
sort
going back
that
to something corporate. So you are into keyboards and pianos.
People might argue that there is a difference. I will go as far as to say yes, because eventually I gave in to liking something corporate.
Well, something corporate was way more softer. Something corporate is an emo band. Like that, I don't even put them in the pop punk category. Like that is emo as shit, and it should be, because his lyrics and everything are such an emotional, like, they really are. Like he is. He got into the pop punk thing on accident. I don't think they ever really belonged. Like, they are a quintessential emo fucking band. Like, those lyrics hit hard. Like, he puts every ounce of his fucking heart into those words. So I understand what you mean, how like Motion City and Something Corporate are way different monsters, because they are. Because you've always tended to like more like upbeat, poppy, fun music, so I can see throwing a keyboard into that is your shit. But then when well,
not only was it a keyboard, but it was a synthesizer, so it was that. Like,
but really, like, you listen to the kids that listened to Something Corporate were the kids that were like secretly drinking and sneaking out to smoke cigarettes and like shit like that. Sure. Like those were Something Corporate kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Motion City Soundtrack was the art getting fucked up on pills.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on, so. A lot of people give me shit about this when I say this. I think this is a perfect pop punk record for the time. I do not think that this album has a bad song on it. I think it aged very well. I do not like a single fucking thing that this band did outside of this album. Not a single thing. Not one fucking song after this album. But A Fever You Can't Sweat Out by Panic at the Disco turns 20 this year, and Jesus fucking Christ, that album was good as fuck.
I think, okay, so you might have hit that like perfectly on
exactly,
the nail.
Right? Right?
Yeah. Right? Because your description going in, I was like, holy shit, who the hell was he talking about? Like, I had no idea.
But I will sing along to every single word on every single song of that album, unashamed. I love that fucking album.
Doing it before we started recording.
Yes.
So, but I will say there are a few. I will probably say, less than a handful of newer Panic at the Disco songs that I like.
Not a single one. Not a single one, dude. Okay. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
But I love poppy shit. You know I love like. But I mean, you love poppy.
And 9 o'clock is not the afternoon; it's the fucking evening, guy.
9 in the afternoon.
It's not.
Dude, it can be whatever you want it to be.
Sure, whatever.
Anyway,
moving on.
But yes, that album, I think that was another album. Like, I think I bought that album, I believe, when Best Buy sold CDs, which I think there's probably still a few that might.
Oh,
sell
no,
CDs,
dude! Like every Best Buy I've gone into recently, no CDs, no DVDs, just electronics.
Right. So when they heavily sold DVDs or CDs, I think I went to Best Buy to buy the CD. Maybe
I will tell you, not to cut you off, but I will tell you, back in the day, Best Buy had incredible distribution. Like all of the records we wanted were at Best Buy. All the Tooth and Nail records, all the Fat records, all the Drive-Thru records, all the Epitaph records. Like Best Buy had incredible distribution. Like if you were into any genre of music, Best Buy had it. Which would then every CD was $10. Like every CD was $10.
Yeah, exactly. It's $9.99. And do you remember in Warehouse Music? Like, do you remember that?
I've never been to a Warehouse Music, but I was a Media Play guy. Do you remember Media Play?
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if you don't remember Media Play was like the Walmart of music. You would walk in, there would be a movie section, a music section. You could buy music gear. You could buy toys. You could buy fucking you could buy guitars and amps and everything. Media Play was the shit. Media Play is one of the greatest stores of all time, and I miss it dearly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was like, so like those are like those two, like ours were like Warehouse Music and Best Buy.
Oh, and Circuit City.
But Circuit City for me was a little further stretch.
Oh, okay, I got you. See,
so
in Jonesboro, the Circuit City was right next. It was weird. Media Play was in the middle, and to the right was Best Buy, and to the left was Circuit City. They were on the same strip.
I don't know how I don't remember this, because I know exactly where you're talking about on both of those other stores.
Yeah, by the PetSmart.
Yeah,
over by where the PetSmart was. Like, I think it was like Mount Zion area.
Maybe, because I know y'all's Circuit City. That Circuit City over there by the mall over there.
Yeah.
That Circuit City was the shit.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying, dude. All those stores. We even had a Radio Shack in that plaza, I think.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Anyways.
But I do remember. I remember going to that Circuit City.
Yeah.
And that Circuit City was sick. But anyway, I remember going to Best Buy. We got off track. But anyway, I remember going to Best Buy to buy that CD, and I think when I put that CD in, it probably didn't leave my CD player for like a week.
Yeah.
Like it didn't. And I would say probably within the first day, I probably listened to that entire album probably 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Like,
no, and the thing is, it's such a generational thing, because like I'll be hanging out with dudes who like you would think are the biggest metalheads in the world, and I'll pop it in and boom, they just immediately start singing along like they can't help themselves, you know? Everybody knows that record, you know? And whether it's because of a girl you're into or you just heard it at parties, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone from our generation that I know knows that fucking record.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's definitely there's
not a bad song on that album either, which infuriates me that they just couldn't follow up with a good album. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it was also one of those things where I think like band members left.
Whatever, figure it out. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I get it, which I think is why he ended up just doing it himself after a while. I think was to just
I'm gonna get mean, and I don't feel like getting mean. So
all right, next album. Let's go.
All right, so
moving on.
Admittedly, I never got into this band. I know that you and our buddy Mark are really into this band, but Discovering the Waterfront by Silverstein turns 20 this year.
Okay, Mark definitely more so than me.
Yeah, I know that's Mark's like favorite band of all time.
I don't know about it.
Well, one of them.
Maybe. Definitely one of them.
I'll tell you this with all sincerity. You're gonna get mad. I don't even know if I know a Silverstein song.
I bet I could run through a few songs and you would probably recognize a few songs. But either way, this album,
we can't play them on here. We'll get sued.
No, absolutely. No, hell no. We're not doing that. We're not doing that unless somebody knows somebody that could get us in touch with Silverstein and we can talk about some copyrights, and then we could possibly play the single for y'all. But until then, we're not playing it. Sorry. But I remember when that album came out, that was another album that when it came out.
This album specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
Discovering the Waterfront. I remember I very much slept on it because I don't know what it was about like his scream that was just kind of weird to me. Like it didn't resonate with me.
I didn't know that they were like, okay, so I did try to listen to them. I didn't know that they were like, I didn't know that they were like a screamo band until like Mark played them on the way to Universal for us. And he was like, oh, you don't know Silverstein? And I was like, no, I don't. And I've never revisited them, but I didn't even know that they were that sounding of a band.
Yeah. I mean, but it was another thing. Like I remember just like, they were everywhere. Like you would see them.
See, I don't remember this album being big. I remember the album with like the robot holding its heart. I remember that being a big thing.
That was a huge album too. But I mean, I just remember Silverstein. I feel like I probably saw them on this tour. I hate saying this because but I feel like I probably saw them on this tour with somebody. I don't know, but either way, very good album. Very, I wasn't as much into it when it first came out, but definitely over the years, I have definitely learned to love that album.
Hell yeah. So this next one, this is one of your all-time favorite bands. This is one of my favorite bands from this genre. Based on a True Story by The Starting Line. Is 20 years old this year, dude. How good is that album, and what does that album mean to you, dude?
Okay. Okay.
Because that's got Pillow Talk on it, right?
Let's go. Based on a True Story?
Yeah. Doesn't that have Pillow Talk on it? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this album, there was a point in my life.
Yeah, get into it, dude. Tell me the story.
All right. Let's
tell me the story. Story time with Ian. Let's go. Let's go. Tell me about your love for The Starting Line.
Not only a love for The Starting Line, but a love for Kenny as well, because this fucking band is amazing to me and very dear to my heart. But there was a point in my life where I was living in Maryland and trying to become a chef and working in a very hot, sweaty kitchen and training under essentially a master chef.
Right.
And it was all new to me. It was weird to me. I was still like in that, like, I don't know if I want to do this kind of thing. I don't know if I want to take this kind of route with my life, because I hadn't let myself accept the fact that I was going to spend the rest of my life in a kitchen.
Right.
But
if you only knew,
Jesus Christ, if I would have just accepted it then.
Yeah.
But there was a point to where this album came out, and I had already, Starting Line was already at this point, like, Starting Line was probably easily like top 5 all-time favorite bands at this point. Still has been probably since the first album came out, the first EP, and like this album came out, and when I was living up there and doing this whole thing and just listening to that album, so because I had a portable CD player at the time.
Okay.
And
was this pre-iPad or were you just broke? I'm just fucking.
Oh no, this is definitely pre-iPad.
Well, I don't know, dude. This was 2005. I think iPad. iPod. Oh yeah, my bad.
iPods. So iPods were out, yes, but I did not have one. I had a CD player, and I had probably like 20 CDs because I was living up in Maryland with my dad.
I only ever had an iPod Nano, and I could never pick what song I wanted to hear.
I mean,
or the shuffle.
But I don't think I had a computer at the time.
But yeah, so you were living with your dad. Sorry, I got ADHD, bud.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. So this album came out, and it blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, another album for me that, like, I put it on, listened to it to the very end, hit repeat one time, ran it through again.
Yeah.
And listened to it pretty much the entire time that I was living up there, and still continue to this day to listen to that album all the time.
Dude, that's kind of how I was the first time I heard The Climb by Miley Cyrus, dude.
You have issues, my friend.
Have you never heard that song? That's the most motivational song of all fucking time. Are you kidding me?
I probably have. I'm sure I have. I mean, it's Miley Cyrus. I'm sure I have.
But yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, very, very much love for The Starting Line. Shout out The Starting Line. Shout out Kenny.
Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. And I know that band's so important to you. So when I was writing this list and I got to that, I was like, yeah, this is really gonna do it for him.
Yeah, I remember one of my first Warped Tours, actually. I think it might have been my very first Warped Tour or my second Warped Tour. I remember like seeing Kenny at like their merch booth, like going back to what we had talked about, like in the Warped Tour thing, like how bands and record labels would have merch booths.
Mm-hmm.
I think just The Starting Line had a merch booth. It wasn't Drive Thru Records at the time. I think it was just The Starting Line. They had a merch booth, and I remember seeing Kenny, and I was like, I don't know, what time would that have been? I probably would have been 15, probably 16, maybe 17 years old, and just losing it. Like, oh my God, it's Kenny. And this dude's like my age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this dude's like the same age as I am, and I'm like, dude,
and he's always been super cool. I've met him a handful of times too, and he's so fucking rad, dude. He's so nice too, and I love that. I love it when you meet somebody who means something to you, who's a complete fucking stranger, but they just mean so much to you, and they're everything you hope they would be. They're just kind and gentle, and like you have their attention when you talk to them, and sometimes you're lucky enough for them to remember your name if you meet them a few times. That is so fucking special when you meet somebody you look up to and they give a fuck about you. You know what I mean? So special.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember so going into, this is going to tie in a few subjects we've been talking about. So like, talking about some old venues and stuff like that. I remember seeing Kenny's side project Personnel in the old hell in the old hell of Masquerade.
I don't remember who I saw. I think I saw Personnel with Say Anything, but I saw Personnel one time.
Nice. Hell yeah.
I think
and I remember Kenny was just at the merch booth selling merch, and I just walked up and I was like, dude, loved you.
I appreciate so much when bands do that. Jordan from Every Time I Die would always be at the merch booth. Toby from H2O always at the fucking merch booth. You know, Scott from Terror, you can always catch him walking around the fucking venues. Like, I love it when bands do that. Like, I fucking hate when bands know that people are there trying to just catch a glimpse or get a conversation or get a fucking picture with them, and they just have that rock star ego where they just won't come out of the fucking back.
Oh, and just walk straight out the back.
I fucking hate it so fucking much, dude. And granted, I've never been in that situation. I've never had people clamoring for my attention. But at the same time, it's like, dude, like when you're in the pop punk hardcore emo scene, like these tickets are expensive to us. Like you have high school kids, you have college students that are fucking broke, and you have restaurant employees. That is your main fucking fan base. And $35 is a lot for me to fucking blow on a ticket. So if I blow this money and I see you, like if I make fucking contact with you and I can just tell that you're blowing all of us off, that makes me fucking livid. Like come fucking say hey. Like, what are you going to lose? You know?
Just come say But hey. Also, I feel like that's going to come around and bite them. So they probably won't survive.
And like, I get it. Like, any type of fame is probably annoying. It probably sucks. But at the end of the day, not to play devil's advocate and be an asshole, you signed up for this. Nobody told you to start a band.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how much this album resonated with you. I liked a few songs on it. Crimson by Alkaline Trio is 20 this year.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's another album. Like, I think at some point I just started buying Alkaline Trio albums.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't matter. Like at some point, like I shit by album, 2 or 3 probably.
Yeah.
You were just like, oh, it's going to be fucking good.
Yeah. I was really into Goddamn It got me into them.
Oh, hard.
And then, what is the album with fucking Private Eye on it? I can't remember the name of it, but I was really into that fucking album.
Yes.
And this album, I believe, had Time to Waste on it. Is that the name of the song? Time to Waste?
God, fucking fact checked.
I'm pretty sure this album had Time to Waste on it.
Yeah, we definitely, I'm not sure, honestly.
But moving on from that, very important in my life, a very important album in my life came out in 2005, and that is Gutter Phenomenon by Every Time I Die. This album, it was weird. So like, you had Hot Damn come out, and Hot Damn was such a raw sounding, fucking high energy album. Then they signed to Epitaph, and then Gutter Phenomenon came out, and that's where you got hits like Easy Tiger. That's where you got the New Black, which ended up being in Guitar Hero of all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just such a high energy fucking record, and it was good, and his singing sounded good, and the production sounded good, and they didn't sound like a completely different band, but it was just polished, and you could tell that they put so much fucking hard work and effort into this album, and it completely changed the fucking game, dude. Like, I had already been a fan of Every Time I Die, but then I fell in love with Every Time I Die when this album came out. So many of my favorite songs by this band are, and you've known me my whole life. Every Time I Die is my favorite band of all time. Like,
no, that's what I'm
like of all time.
Yes.
I've never had a band mean more to me than Every Time I Die means to me. It pains me that they're not together, but it's just something I got to move on from. But this album was quintessential to me at this time of my life. I listened to it until it fucking broke, and then I went out and got another fucking record. Like,
okay, do you remember buying it, or how you?
I bought it at Best Buy. I bought the regular. Okay, so I bought the regular edition at Best Buy, but at Hot Topic they had a special edition, and they also had their DVD called Shit Happens, which followed them on the Warped Tour, and right after this record came out. So I had the fucking Shit Happens DVD, and I played that shit so much. I figured I watched all the bonus content. I figured out this thing you could do at the menu where if you kept hitting, when you put in the Shit Happens DVD for Every Time I Die, if you kept, as soon as the menu would appear, if you hit skip, then it would change a different color, and you'd hit skip again. And if you hit skip like 4 or 5 times, all of a sudden it would be a blank screen. And then it was a video of their lead singer doing stand-up comedy at this fucking club in Buffalo, New York. But it was like a secret. You had to know about it. Yeah. It was fucking awesome. And I cracked the code. Cool. I remember cracking the code, and I told all my fucking friends about it, and nobody believed me. So they came over and was like, no, dude, look, he's doing fucking stand-up comedy right here.
That's amazing.
I even believe I memorized it so well. I think the name of the club he was doing at, it was called Merlin's in Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken, because he quotes it. But like it was terrible. He had like all of his lines written on like notebook paper, and the jokes weren't that great. But the thing about Every Time I Die is like, you bought their records, you bought their DVD, and they were so personal and they were so attainable. Like I said, like you would go to shows, you would go to Warped Tour, and they would be there. They would sign autographs. They would take pictures with you. They would talk to you. There was a point in time where Andy like remembered me. Didn't remember my name, but he remembered me. There's from 2004 all the way to like when they broke up. Alex, one of my best friends, Alex and I only missed 5 Atlanta shows in that span of time that Every Time I Die played, because that's how fucking important they were to us. And I miss them greatly. Gutter Phenomenon is one of the most important albums of my life. Like, it truly is.
I think that's probably how I am with Newfound Glory. I think I've only missed
you don't miss
like
them
5 times in Atlanta.
Yeah, you don't miss them.
I can honestly say I've probably seen them like 18 times.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 times.
Yeah. I even
I've definitely seen them more than any other band.
For Alex's birthday, like 5 or 6 years ago, I paid like, I don't want to say it because I don't want him to feel bad.
Yeah.
But I paid money for the lead singer of Every Time I Die to do a cameo and wish Alex happy birthday. Dude.
Sick.
Yeah, it was tight.
That's
dude.
Awesome.
Like I was a huge fucking fan. I still am a huge fan of Every Time I Die, and like. Yeah. Literally, like, that album just changed everything. And it wasn't that I had never heard anything like that. It wasn't like it was a ground. It's just that the songs were just so fucking good.
Well, I feel like going back to another topic that we talked about, like, I feel like that was a very good band that kind of, like, collided worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
they definitely took some like hardcore elements.
Yeah, there are so many people in my life that are like, I don't like heavy music, but I like Every Time I Die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, gee, do you wonder why?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, some of their shit is brutal, dude. Like they fucking rip.
Yeah.
So, yes, I know that album very much.
Last album on the list. Yeah, and well, there is an honorable mention after this one, but last album on the list, which is a very important album to me, very important album to you, very important to one of our best friends, Mark. Wake the Dead by Comeback Kid turns 20 fucking years old this year.
No way.
20 years old this year.
20 years. God.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Funny story actually today. So me and Shannon were driving in the car. Shannon is my wife, everybody. When we were driving in the car, I saw it come up like on the thing. It said, "Comeback Kid, Wake the Dead." And I immediately was just sitting on the steering wheel like fucking Wake the Dead, dude. If that album or that song in general, if there isn't a point when that first fucking intro starts, when that first guitar riff starts hitting, if you aren't immediately just like what is happening right now? Like,
truth be told, I don't know if it turns 20 today. It just sounded fun to say, but it turns 20 this year.
Who gives a shit, dude? 20 years? No way.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing is like two albums that were so pivotal to me in hardcore, Gutter Phenomenon and Wake the Dead, both turned fucking 20 this year. There is a Wake the Dead 20-year anniversary tour this year. They're playing literally everywhere around us but Atlanta. But I'm thinking about taking a trip to Florida to see this because I have to see this.
Kid, send us tickets.
I have to see this. No, I will pay money for this, you know?
Yes, of course.
So, like, I just got to know, are you down? Like, let's go fucking see this shit, dude.
God, I want to. I want to. Okay. We'll see when the time gets there.
Why the fuck?
Anyway. Yeah, exactly.
You know, why the fuck?
Exactly.
But they're playing Florida. Yes. Florida, what, 5 hours? We could literally drive down there, see the show, and then drive back if we really fucking wanted to.
Yeah. God, we'd be dead, though.
Yeah,
we're getting old, man. We're getting
old.
Baby.
But, you know, shit, dude. This dog will still hunt, buddy.
Stupid. Yeah, definitely that was an album. I think that was another album I feel like I might have like borrowed from a friend.
Mark showed me this album.
Oh, okay.
Mark showed me this album. Yeah.
I just remember I think it was an album that like I borrowed from a friend and I was just like, yo, this like back then album art again.
Yeah.
So like seeing that album art and I was like, this shit looks tough.
Well, to be very clear,
like,
to be completely transparent, Wake the Dead was not the first Comeback Kid album I heard. Broadcasting that came out in I think 2007 was the first Comeback Kid album I heard.
And that was like what, 2?
It was their third record.
After?
It was their third record. Okay. So it was the one right after Wake the Dead. It was when so Andrew was the guitar player on Wake the Dead, and then he became the singer in Broadcasting, and he's been the singer ever since Broadcasting. So Broadcasting, I want to say came out in 2007, but I remember me, you, and Mark were riding in the red Honda, and I put in the Broadcasting CD, and Mark was like, "Who the fuck is this?" And I was like, "This is Comeback Kid." He's like, "Oh, dude, you need to hear this album." And he showed me Wake the Dead, and I was like, "Yo, this shit is fucking hard." But yeah, I didn't hear Wake the Dead until after Broadcasting had already come out. So Wake the Dead wasn't my introduction to Comeback Kid.
I think that's probably how I had to have heard it then was Mark, maybe.
It probably was.
Shout out Mark.
Because Mark, I remember in my early 20s, Mark gave me a Wake the Dead shirt that was from like 2005.
Sick.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember this interaction happening.
Yeah,
because for some reason I have this memory of like a t-shirt. It's when we were working at Corner Tavern, and he just came. He came up there one day. He's like, "Oh, I got something for you," and it was a Wake the Dead. It was an old ass shirt. It had like paint and stuff on it, but I didn't give a fuck. I was like, "Yo, this is like an OG fucking Wake the Dead shirt. This shit is badass. Yeah. Thank you, dude." You know? Yeah. Sick.
And to close it out, the honorable mention I have.
God.
Coheed and Cambria, Good Apollo turns 20 this year. Yeah. What a fucking band. I just want to say this. Coheed and Cambria fucking rules. And you can disagree with me all you want. Coheed and Cambria fucking rules. They still shred. They still make good fucking music. This album, though, with Welcome Home on it and shit, really skyrocketed them to stardom. There were I remember there were a lot of kids in the fucking scene that were pissed about how popular and famous they got off this record, but you can't deny the music was there, dude. They're such a fucking solid band, dude.
I mean, that was a band. I remember a friend of mine, before the first album came out, there was like some website, or I'm sure it was like a message board or something.
Are you talking about Second Stage Turbine Blade or In Keeping Secrets? Because
Second Stage.
The
first album.
I always thought In Keeping Secrets was the first album, but then I heard Second Stage Turbine Blade with like Devil in Jersey City and shit on it.
Before Second Stage, there were like some leaked demos ish.
When they were called like Shibuti or something like that, right?
No, it was Coheed and Cambria.
Okay.
It was like, I think it was essentially it was the demos for the album.
Okay.
But they still sounded better than demos.
Okay.
And I remember they got put up on, I feel like it was like a message board or something like that. And I remember a friend of mine put them onto a CD and just wrote like CNC because like it was Coheed and Cambria. Like there was no title to an album. There was nothing like that.
Wait, was this Wes?
Like just CNC. Yes.
Okay.
So, and burned a CD. And I remember hearing this, and it was one of those albums like you knew something was going to happen with this band. Like this band was going to be huge.
I remember seeing them at Warped Tour, and the crowd was we were smushed in there like sardines. Like I remember I was so scrunched against the person in front of me that like whenever they would move out, and it got to the point where my feet were off the ground and I had to fucking leave because it was at a Warped Tour and it was hot as fuck outside and I couldn't fucking breathe and we were just crammed in there and it was fucking insane. But I will say this, mentioning him, we would be very remiss if we didn't shout out Wes because he really did put us onto a lot of music. I don't know how he had the early access to the music he had back then, but he really did help us out when it came to learning music.
I will go ahead, shout out Wes. I don't know if he's listening to this. I would hope he is. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But if he is, Wes changed my life in more ways than I can begin to even count.
Absolutely, dude.
We had an amazing relationship. And that dude, I learned more about punk rock, pop punk, hardcore. I remember learning, I feel like honestly that's probably who I went to my first Warped Tour with because honestly, okay, so funny side note, my mom called me and told me she did not drive me to my first Warped Tour.
Oh, really?
Going back to the last episode. So apparently my mom did not take me to my first Warped Tour, which means it had to have been Wes.
Yeah.
Had to have been.
Yeah.
Had to have been. Which that dude, the people that we met and the things that we did, and I mean, forever changed my life. And that dude was a very quintessential part of my life. So when I say this dude ripped me a CD, like this dude ripped me probably 500 CDs. I
was about to say like he indirectly affected me because I'll never fucking forget. New Found Glory was becoming a big band at this time. You came over for like Thanksgiving, Christmas, something like that. And you had a copy of Sticks and Stones. Sticks and Stones didn't come out for like almost a month and a half. But
probably just like a silver burn CD.
Yeah, you had a silver burn CD. Somehow you had an advanced copy of this album that didn't come out for like a month or two.
Wes.
And you had it. And I was like, how the fuck did you get it? And you were like, my buddy Wes, he got it for me. And you didn't let me borrow it.
Always.
You let me listen to it, but you didn't let me borrow it.
Always.
But I was just like, how the fuck does he have this record before anybody else?
Dude, and that's what I'm saying though. So like going back to what I was saying though about Coheed. So like he somehow, I don't know if it was a message board or if it was, I don't know, but he got a copy of some Coheed demos, and I'm telling you, like, just it changed my life, and like it changed. So, and I remember like playing it for my stepdad, and like he was like, "Oh, this sounds like Rush,"
but it does in a strange way. It does,
and especially like earlier Coheed, and I guess definitely later because he's highly influenced by Rush, but it was pretty cool. Like knowing, like in my head, I was like, these dudes are going to blow up.
Yeah,
like there's no way that this band, the way he sings, the way he shreds, the way the drums are so different and the bass riffs are so heavy, like so deep and heavy. And you're like, this, I don't know whether to accept this as like emo music or do I accept this as like new metal or is this metal or is this like
I was riding in my friend Tom's Camaro on the way to a Sonic after a Starbelly Sneetches show. And
shout out
the Sonic and Tyrone.
Hell yeah.
Off of
that is now closed.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But we were on the way there. Josh from our last episode was following us there. And And it was a long drive from where we were. I think we were in, well, it wasn't a long drive. It felt like a long. I think the show was in Fairburn. So Sonic's and Tyrone, they're kind of right next to each other. But we ate Sonic and everything. And on the way home, he had to drive me to, this is when I was living off of Sandy Creek. So he had to drive me back to the Sandy Creek area. And he put in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. And we listened to, the first song is For Fucking Ever. So we only listened to like 1.5 songs by the time I got home. But I remember getting home and running inside and immediately getting on AOL Instant Messenger and just like blowing him up, being like, who the fuck was that? What did you just play for me? What is it? Because he had told me the name, but I couldn't remember it because it's kind of a loaded name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Who?
I just remember, and he wasn't home yet, and I had sent him like 5 messages by the time he got home, and finally he answered. He's like, dude, it's Coheed and Cambria. And I was like, all right, thanks. That's all I fucking needed.
Yeah, hell yeah. Blowing them up on your Razor, dude.
Oh, no. It wasn't. This was a sit-down computer. This was like old school. Dude, we were poor, so it was probably still dial-up, bro.
Yeah, Instant Messenger.
Yeah, AOL Instant Messenger, bro. I don't think I ever had a Razor. I had a Sidekick, but this was pre-Sidekick.
Oh, I know we had Sidekicks.
Yeah, this was pre-Sidekick days. That was the greatest phone of all time. T-Mobile, you need to bring back the fucking Sidekick.
Dude, did you ever see like they did like a touchscreen version of it?
Fuck that! I don't want that. I want the trackball. I want the fucking Sidekick.
My point. I'm saying there is a.
I don't
want
a touchscreen. Fuck that. What was cool? I can talk about a Sidekick for an hour and a half. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Right.
We're not going to do that. Yeah. Sidekick is the greatest phone of all fucking time. It really, truly is. I fucking love that phone, and I don't give a fuck that it didn't fit in my fucking pocket. I love that goddamn phone,
dude. Okay. Shout out to the real ones that used to wear girls' jeans back in the day because, ladies and gentlemen, the hosts of your shows used to wear girls' jeans back in the day.
I did. But the thing was, I used to steal my sister's clothes, but my sister's thick, so they fit me just right.
Not only that, a Sidekick would fit into some pockets. Some pockets.
Oh no, you know
jeans have shallower pockets.
Well, for some reason, I don't know why like 511 Levi's weren't. I don't know if they were or weren't a thing back then. But the girl jeans with the best pockets were the Aeropostale stretch jeans. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, shout it out.
All right, but anyways, we're gonna wrap this up, man. That was a lot of fun. I guess we're getting old as fuck. So here's to that. I mean, I remember I used to make fun of people who were my age, and now I'm that age, so now I'm the fucking old guy. So
oh yeah, when everybody's like, oh, I feel like I'm getting so old.
I brush my hair. I keep seeing more and more gray hairs, but I tell my wife all the time, like, I'll go gray all day as long as I don't go bald. So we're good. We're fine.
Heard.
But yeah, man, we're gonna get out of here. Go ahead and plug us, Ian. Where can everybody find us?
All right, everybody, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. It's at TTATO Podcast ATL. Again, that's TTATO Podcast ATL. Make sure in your streaming services or wherever you're listening devices or whatever you listen to podcasts on, make sure you're searching for This, That, and the Other with Joey and Ian. Again, that's This, That, and the Other with Joey and Ian. Thank you again, everybody, for listening to us. Tune in next time. Yeah. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great night.
Dude, do you know what I feel like playing? Some fucking Road Rash.